Hudson County View, live and uncut. And I'm your host, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, John R. Hides, here to talk the latest and greatest in Hudson County news. So, first of all, on I guess we'll call it a public service announcement, which we don't do too often, but this time around, we still have a boil water advisory in the Mile Square City. Of course, that's Hoboken. And you know, there was this huge water main break at the Jersey City border yesterday. It was 36-inch main break, which is quite large for those of you that have been following this sort of thing over the past, I don't know, few decades. But the point is that advisory is still into effect, and there's going to be some water distribution efforts, as there already has been. So we're going to tell you about that. And of course, on the political front, though, there's no shortage of news. I mean, for example, we had Hudson County Executive Craig Guy's State of the County last week. That was on Thursday. And right afterwards, my colleague Daniel Ulloa had a chance to speak to him, and he talked a little bit about endorsing U.S. Representative Mikey Sherrill for governor and the whole HCV Civil War. So we're going to want to sink our teeth into all that. Also going to talk a little bit about November 4th. Of course, we have two nonpartisan elections there, one in Jersey City, one in Hoboken. And yesterday, we had 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo announce, and I had a chance to speak with him prior to that, and he also put out his first campaign video, so we're going to talk all about that with the man himself. He's actually right here next to me, so we'll get to him in just a little bit. So all that and a whole lot more right after this word from our sponsors.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John R. Hides. So let's talk briefly about this water main break. So obviously, again, it's a big one, 36-inch break. Boil water advisory remains in the Mile Square City. That's been on since early yesterday morning. And last night, the interconnect, which is the water supply for that border area, Jersey City and Hoboken, specifically in Jersey City, it's the Newport area, and it services most of Hoboken, if not all. And they did an interconnect switch at 5 o'clock through roughly 8 o'clock, and that was just letting you know that because that affects water pressure, and obviously when people see that, sometimes they get a little concerned. So that's basically that for now. I mean, not really much of an update. There was a short email from the city via a Nixle, as well as one from Viola, which is the water service provider, but not a whole lot of new information. I mean, they're still working on it. Obviously, it's a big job. They've been working through the night, and they're hoping to get it repaired as quickly as possible. No boil water advisory for Jersey City, just to reiterate that point. And beyond that, you know, keep in mind that that border area, Jersey City, Hoboken, is going to be heavily trafficked. It's going to be a lot of construction there, so you're advised to avoid. Specifically, Jersey Avenue has been closed in both directions at 18th Street in Jersey City. Eastbound traffic coming into Hoboken on Jersey Avenue will be diverted onto 18th Street, and westbound traffic on Observer Highway is detoured onto Grove Street and Henderson/Marriage Street, also in Jersey City. So some commuting updates there. So back on the political front, here's something that I didn't mention yet. We have Musab Ali, a former Jersey City Board of Education president and mayoral candidate, announcing his first running mate. And that's a fellow by the name of Shabab Khan, and he is an IT specialist. And he's also a community advocate and a parent of two over in Jersey City. So he is running for that Ward C council seat. As you guys probably recall, that's a relatively small field right now. We got incumbent Rich Baggiano running on former Governor Jim McGreevy's ticket, while we also have Tom Zupa, who has been on the show several times, and he ran in 21. He ended up coming in third place, but he's back, and he never really left. I mean, he's been running a civic association, and he's on a ticket with Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day. So with that, we heard from Con, and he said, I know firsthand the struggles of working families in Ward C. I've lived them. As a father, I want my children, and all our children, to grow up in a city where they can thrive. That was in a statement released last night. He said that means safer streets, well-funded schools, and a local government that puts residents first. I'm running to be that voice to bring our concerns directly to City Hall and ensure that Ward C gets the attention and investment it deserves. So, you know, seems like a guy that's seen some things. I mean, he's arrived in the U.S. in 1998 in a student visa from India, and he's worked on some pretty reputable Fortune 500 companies like J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, and several others. So we also heard from Musab Ali, and of course, he was excited to welcome him to the team. He said his commitment to public safety, infrastructure, and education makes him the perfect candidate to represent Journal Square and be a voice for everyday residents at City Hall. He is going to ensure we build a Jersey City for all. So, you know, that's interesting. Obviously, the Journal Square race, the Ward C race, getting kind of hot as we're still roughly, 8.5 months out. So, yeah, quite a few interesting things happening there. And something that we talked about for a couple weeks now, I'm looking into these major police discipline reports for all the major municipalities, and almost done, getting towards the end here. But when I looked at North Bergen, something that people noticed was that there was actually a resignation there over a sexual assault case. Now, for you, those of you guys that have been following super closely, back in mid-2020, then Attorney General Gubir Grewal had this directive that said major discipline reports are going to be due at January 31st of every year. They're going to go on our online portal, and they should also upload those to their respective websites, meaning the police department websites. So this is anyone that was suspended for 10 or more days in any given calendar year. And most of these smaller municipalities like North Bergen only have 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most. We'll get to Jersey City in the next couple days, but that one was a little more complicated. But anyway, right here and now, so the incident description says Officer Roberto Gonzalez was immediately suspended on March 8, 2023, when he was charged with sexual assault, a crime of the second degree for behavior that occurred while off duty. The criminal case is still pending. The internal affairs investigation was sustained based on the officer's statement during an interview with the Essex County Prosecutor's Office. The department moved for termination, but Officer Gonzalez resigned on November 11, 2024, pending termination. And he was also meeting Gonzalez on the 2023 major discipline report for North Bergen for the same incident. It was still under investigation at that time, so he was just under suspension. Obviously, now we've seen a resolution. The only other thing they mentioned there was Police Detective Frank Mehta got a 10-day suspension. Internal Affairs sustained charges of conduct unbecoming of a public employee and violating a policy prohibiting discrimination and harassment. This was for violating several departmental policies, including prohibiting a hostile work environment. Apparently, he made several racially charged jokes and comments towards other officers. And, you know, just before we go to break, Union City, much simpler one. It basically, one officer suspended for 12 days for violating extended sick leave. Police officer Edward Romero was on the extended leave. Someone checked on him on 3 separate occasions. He wasn't where he was supposed to be, and therefore the suspension was handed down. So with that, folks, we're going to go to another break. When I come back, I'll be with Hoboken 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, who's also running for mayor. We'll be right back.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or a quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John Arhitis, and as I mentioned a few moments ago, today I'm joined with Hoboken 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, who just announced his mayoral campaign yesterday. Mike, thanks for coming in.
What's up, John? Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, obviously we had a chance to sit down on Monday, which I appreciate, of course, and I appreciate you making the point to, double down on your message here today.
Sure.
So, let's just start on the governmental side. So, you obviously have a council meeting tonight, and I know we have the Garage B plan, which some people are excited about, some people hate it, like everything else in Hoboken. But tell me about your vision and what you've contributed to this plan and how you'd like to see this pan out.
Yeah, this is something very near and dear to my heart. I started working on this plan with Mayor Bala probably, 3 years ago at this point. I remember going over to New York and speaking to the individuals who actually own the air rights above that garage. And we started talking about what potentially could be there. And as all developers, those conversations started with, a luxury high rise. And we made it very clear that that's not what we were looking for as a city. And we wanted to make sure that we were housing the middle class and the working class in the city of Hoboken. That evolved over time. And now we're at a point where there's a redevelopment plan coming before the city council. I've been very fortunate to work with the administration, our lawyers, our director, doing that over the last year to really craft what we need. And I think we're getting to a point where we're able to do that. So I'm excited about that project, and we're finally building that middle income housing and that affordable housing that we talk about all the time. And that, those things, they carry over like into rent control, where rent control shouldn't be our primary source of affordable housing in the city of Hoboken. We as a city should be building those types of projects. And this is the first one that we're attempting to do. And I think it's going to be an absolute asset for the city of Hoboken.
All right. And as far as that final vision, in terms of stories, in terms of units, in terms of retail, well, what do you think of there?
Yeah, so, in the plan, we set that envelope. We said how big that's going to look. And there's some mass to it, right? There's some size to this project. We have to house the current garage, which is over 800 parking spaces. We have to house the number of units that we think is a good start to really make sure that we house all of those working class families in the city of Hoboken. So this is going to be a pretty big project, but I'll take on that fight every time when we're fighting to house those people. So,
and what do you think's a realistic completion date, tentatively?
Look, I like to get things done yesterday, right? But what's realistic, I think by the end of the year this year, we should have a plan and an agreement in place so that we can make sure the financing is there. Whoever we choose as a development partner to do that has everything that they need, and we could get a shovel in the ground. So my hope is by the end of 25, early 26.
Okay, very good. Also on the government side, actually straight out of the mayor's office, just about an hour ago, we see the chief of staff, E.J. Chudhuri, will be leaving. He's going to be taking on some sort of consulting career. So what do you think about that bit of breaking news and just, his about decade of service with the city?
Yeah, look, VJ has been, he's been a staple in City Hall for a long time. Even before Mayor Bala was elected, he was on staff with Mayor Zimmer. So he knows the city. He understands, what the need is and his role. I think he's been effective in that role. And I think right now with Mayor Bala not seeking re-election, I think those that were closest to him and those that were around him are all trying to figure out what their next steps are. And this, in particular, is what he chose to do. So I wish him the best.
All right, great. And we'll get to the politics on the next segment. But one more governmental thing. So the water main break and the boil water advisory. So obviously we've both seen a lot of these, right? But, you're on the front line, so to speak. So from what I could tell, it seems like it's a lot of hurry up and wait. But what could you really do as a councilman or as any kind of, city official during these times, what have you been doing?
Yeah, they become chaotic, right, as you know. So as a council person, you want to make sure you communicate as much as possible with your constituency. You want to make sure that if those residents are in need, you could help to supply whatever you can. Bringing water to senior buildings, making sure people understand what the boil advisory is, making sure that you could get whatever it is that they need at the time. So you try as much as you can. And in particular, yesterday was a little chaotic, especially for me, right? I had this planned announcement for my mayoral run, and then, as we had to kind of delay that. That originally was going to happen early in the morning. We delayed that because we had to just change focus and make sure that our residents were safe, making sure that we got them their bottled water, making sure that we knew the water was coming on at some point. And it became very chaotic in the morning, but toward the afternoon that started to come down a little bit, and now you're starting to see the remnants of what else is happening, where that water pressure kind of goes down a little bit. It may come back up a little bit later. It may go down a little bit until the final fixes are in. But we're doing as much as we can to make sure that our residents are safe and they have whatever they need.
All right, and just a quick additional point, looked like there was a nice collaboration between the municipal and the county officials on this one.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think, although there was a slight miscommunication about the work being done in Jersey City, I think we could have been slightly prepared a little bit more. But once it happened, I think the city responded really well. I think the county responded really well. And that collaboration was really important. I think everybody was out there making sure that people had water, especially at our senior buildings, at our public housing buildings, and making sure that everybody was safe. So it was pretty awesome.
All right, very good, Councilman. Don't go anywhere. Folks, don't go anywhere yet. We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View live at Uncut. John R. Hyde is still here with Hoboken 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo, who's running for mayor. So, Councilman, as we discussed a little bit previously, it's going to be at least a 5-person field by all indications. Yeah. And, it's going to be obviously probably pretty ugly race and a pretty expensive race. Just anything, what does that mean to you when you're planning out how you approach this thing? Yeah, so my strategy always is the same, right? I don't get down into the mud with people. I just refuse to, right? It's not what residents want to hear. It's not what people need to understand and absorb so that they can make an informed decision. Right? It's one of those things that if my opponents choose to do any of that stuff, that's kind of on them, and that's on who they are as people, right? So I'm going to make sure that we're relentlessly positive throughout this entire campaign. I'm going to talk to the issues. I'm going to get very specific on those issues. We're going to talk about how we're achieving those issues and how we're funding those issues. And I don't think there are any candidates that are currently announced or any candidates that are going to get into this race that are going to have any of that substantive, really important information for our residents. I've been doing it from the beginning. I talk about my policy positions. I talk about what that looks like. And in this campaign, we're going to get super specific on how we're going to achieve those things. And you'll see it, right? All of my opponents in this race will reference my policy positions. They will speak to the same things that I am currently speaking about, that they are not. And that's just one thing that is going to set me apart from the entire field. All right. So you're feeling pretty good about it, and I can't blame you. I mean, look, when I was reading the Facebook comments, as we spoke about off camera, I didn't get to read all the social media, but it was largely positive. A lot of people like that a born and raised Hobokenite, if you will, is running again. And, of course, they remember your father's tenure, as we also discussed previously. So, when you're soaking all that in, I mean, that must make you feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, sure. It's amazing, right? Like when you make a big announcement like this in life, right? It doesn't just have to be politics. Your friends start to jump on board. Those people that have supported you through your career, they start to jump on board. They start to reiterate that and really want to be positive for you. So I think everyone will experience some of that. I think what's been overwhelming for me is that there are thousands of people that have been reaching out, whether that's through email, through social media, phone calls, text message. It's absolutely overwhelming and absolutely amazing. I'm really super stoked about all of it.
All right. As you should be. I mean, things are off to a hot start, clearly. Now, on the other side of the coin, of course, there's always naysayers in any cycle, as you're well aware, and Hoboken is Hoboken.
Yep.
But, we saw a little bit also, like some people are sharing that old Solomon Dwek video, and some people are also talking about your bankruptcy from a couple years ago. Where do you see those two things factoring into the race, if at all?
I honestly, I don't think they factor into the race at all, right? If people want to talk about me as a person, by all means, come and speak to me. I have no problem talking to anybody and talking about anything, right? My life has been an open book my entire life. I don't know that any of my opponents can say the same thing, right? So it's one of those things that I'm very used to talking to people about, and I have no problem continuing that.
Now, with the Dwek thing is like a bigger conversation from many years ago. I believe it was like 2010, 2011, before I was on the scene. And if I'm not mistaken, you were the council vice president at that point, and I believe your colleagues, not because of the video specifically, but because of what came out in that book that originated from one of the NJ.com Star Ledger authors, Ted Sherman, The Soprano State. They're like, between those two things, we think this is concerning. They asked for you to step back from leadership, and I believe you did, again, before my time, but if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what happened. So, I mean, when you're looking back on that, I mean, what do you think of that whole situation?
Yeah, it was purely political, right? I mean, we know what it was. You see it now in everyday politics on every level, right? You sneeze wrong in this world, and someone will point to it and try to put you into a box. The reality is, no one's putting me into a box. It's just not who I am, right? I won't allow it. So, those things will continue to happen in perpetuity of time, right, to millions of people. But I think it was all just strictly political. People wanted a pound of political flesh, and, so be it.
All right, point taken. So now on to more current events. So, we talked a lot about affordability, a lot about public safety.
Yeah.
And I know you want to max out those table of organization charts for police and fire.
Yeah.
So what do you think the cost would be like with that, and how would you slowly be able to phase that in and make that a viable solution?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, here's the simple answer.
Yeah.
You need to restructure the entire government. You have to figure out how we're saving money elsewhere so that we could fund what is the most paramount decision that we make as public leaders, right? We have to keep our citizenry safe. So how do you shift what the government looks like so that you could fund that? There are other ways to fund it as well. I have specifically very good relationships with the County of Hudson, very good relationships in the state of New Jersey, and I even have good relationships at the federal levels. Those are relationships that I will utilize to make sure that we have whatever funding we need for the city of Hoboken. People always say, Hoboken always gets the least of municipalities in Hudson County. I'm sure other municipalities across Hudson County will make the same argument, right?
They'll disagree.
But the reality is there's a lot more that we could really get from the county, from the state of New Jersey, from the federal government to make sure we're doing the things that we need to make sure that our citizens get exactly what they want.
And just real quick on fiscal responsibility. So one thing that we did talk about the other day was there's all this bonding that goes on, $5 million here, $10 million there, and on occasion $50 million. You see what they do with some of these resiliency parks. They're not cheap, and they require a lot of maintenance too. So, in a Russo administration, how do you grapple with those kind of situations?
Yeah, so if you look at my record, right, across my entire time on the council, I fight against bonding as much as I possibly can. It's the credit card analogy, right? You keep putting money on that credit card, eventually you have to pay it, and you're paying the interest. So the city of Hoboken has this structural deficit because of our bonding of about $15 million a year, which means on day one, every year, we're $15 million in the hole. We have to pay for that. We have to pay for that somehow. So how do you then go and do some of these bigger projects, right? So let's use a park, for example. Well, you have to do something where it generates some revenue so you're paying that debt service. If you're bonding for $30 million, you have to generate $1.5 million a year to make sure you're paying for that bonding. So how do you do that, right? Those are the types of projects that we have to look at now. Again, talking about restructuring government and making as many savings as possible across the city, that's really, really important. And some of those decisions are going to be really tough, but you need a strong, decisive leader to do those things, and I'm the person to do that.
Councilman, very good. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in. Best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We got one more segment. We'll be right back.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View live at Uncut, John Arhitis. So, quick highlight here, if you will, of 32nd Legislative District. Of course, that's Hoboken, a Jersey City Ward C, D, and E. Hoboken Housing Authority Chairwoman Barbara Reyes will actually serve as the campaign chair for the Hudson County Democratic Organization's two endorsed candidates. That's Jenny Pooh, she's the Hoboken Public Library Director, and it's Crystal Fonseca, who is actually the daughter of veteran campaign consultant in New Jersey, Pablo Fonseca, and she also works as a director in Jersey City. And she said in a statement, this is Barbara Reyes, I believe Jenny and Crystal are the best candidates to represent us down in Trenton because I know that if they are elected, their sole focus will be on bringing back critical resources and opening up avenues for expanded access to affordable housing and economic opportunity for all Hoboken and Jersey City residents. Pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, this is the most crowded assembly race thus far. Right now, you have Assemblywoman Jessica Ramirez running on Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop's ticket. It remains to be determined if she'll have a running mate or not, but I know that Ward D Councilman Youssef Saleh has been asked. Let's see what he decides to do. And you also have Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala and Jersey City activist Katie Brennan running as independent. So that's certainly going to be a battle zone for the HCDO. Of course, you have Craig Guy, the HCDO chair and county executive, along with State Senator Union City Mayor Brian Stack, leading the charge on one side, the HCDO side. On the other side, you have Fulop and North Bergen Mayor Nick Sacco leading a second contingency. And of course, they're going to slug it out in these 6 assembly races of that Hudson County Sheriff race that pits incumbent Frank Scileri, who is with the Fulop-Sacco contingency, taking on Bayonne Mayor Jimmy Davis, a retired police captain who has the backing of the Guy and Stack faction. So, talking about elections, let's also mention that Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day has his third council-at-large running mate, and that's Sandra Robinson Green, and she's running with Kristen Zadroga Hart and Councilman-at-Large Daniel Rivera. And, of course, these are the 3 citywide seats, so of course they're, in a lot of ways, the most pivotal for any 9-person slate in Jersey City. And she announced her candidacy at the Booker T. Washington Apartments, and they're actually located in a room named after the late Ernestine B. Robinson, and that's Sandra's mother. If you're not familiar, she was the lead plaintiff in the landmark 1973 New Jersey Supreme Court case Robinson versus Cahill, which put Jersey City's fight for a better education system front and center, and it compelled the state to uphold its constitutional obligation to provide all public school students with a thorough and efficient education. So, an interesting choice. O'Day now has nearly a full ticket. He has 7 running mates announced, and he is just waiting on candidates here in E and F, so we're obviously going to keep you in the loop when that happens. Speaking of the HCDO Civil War, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the Craig Guy versus Stephen Fulop sparring session from last week. So again, State of the County was on Thursday. My colleague Dan had a chance to speak to him a bit, and Craig said in part, The new brand that I would like to see go forward is inclusion. Gone are the days of making those decisions in the back room by bringing Mikey, of course he means Cheryl, in numerous times, several times to meet these different groups, different people. She personally met and spoke to people on the phone. Whoever we encouraged her to meet with, be it charity organization, civics, we had a consensus at one point, we're all rooting for her. And then, he basically made the point that the Civil War is because of Mayor Fulop, and Fulop was happy to respond, as you can imagine. And he said, there is a reason that Tom DeGee's, his old boss, doesn't trust him. There's a reason that Nick Sacco, one of his former closest relationships, can't stand him. And there is a reason that half of the mayors of the county think his word means nothing. And he continued, and basically his last statement was, this isn't from me, this is from the people that know Craig well. The talk around the state is Craig will likely be a one-term county executive. So as you can see, we're going no holds barred, smash mouth football. So with that, folks, we're going to let you go. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.